Hi, my name is Yolian Ogbu, and I'm Running Start's 2020 ambassador. Running Start is a nonpartisan nonprofit that trains young women like me to run for public office. We instill young women with the confidence, connections, and capabilities they need to become political leaders. March is Women's History Month, when we commemorate all of the amazing women that have paved the way for young women to follow in their footsteps. Because of their example, young women like me can say, I look like a politician. Running Start is celebrating Women's History Month 2021 with a HERstory series about women who are firsts in politics. And for this episode, I spoke with Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, who was the first Latina elected to Congress, as well as the first Republican woman from Florida elected to the House with her first electoral victory in 1989. She served in Congress until 2019, and by the end of her tenure, she was the most senior U.S. representative from Florida. Congresswoman Ros-Lehtinen shared some incredible advice about leadership and politics that I took to heart, and I know you will too. So thanks for watching the Running Start HERstory series.
I believe. So I'm so excited to be sitting down, I guess, virtually and having this conversation with you.
I'm
Let's go ahead and
excited,
get started.
Yolian. Thank you for selecting me. I'm honored to do this, and congratulations on everything you have accomplished, because I know to have reached the level where you're at with Running Start, that means you've been selected by your peers and by others. And so hats off to you, Madam Ambassador.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to hear your perspective. So, first question I have today is what motivated you originally to even run for office? Were there any like defining moments for you?
Well, Yolian, I'm telling you, if you were, may I ask your age, or is that not good to do?
Sure. No, I'm 21.
21. If you had asked me when I was 21 that I would be a member of Congress, I would say, estás loca. You're nuts. Not going to happen. I had no interest in politics, except that I was born in Cuba. We lost our homeland to communism. And so my parents were very involved in the Freedom for Cuba movement. So we were political in that sense, but not elective office. I was never involved in student government. I wish I had been. I'm not saying that this was a plus. Not involved in student government in high school or in college. Had never volunteered in anybody's campaign. I was so divorced from that world. It never dawned on me. But I was a teacher. That was my dream. I wanted to be a teacher. And with my parents, we had a private elementary school in Hialeah, working class neighborhood of Miami-Dade County, where I grew up when we came over from Cuba. And I was helping all of the parents who had limited English skills, and they would get papers from Social Security and income tax, and and I was running, without knowing it, a constituent service operation there. And somebody then said to me, rather than just helping Maria y Jose y Pedro y Juana, you could run for office and you could make the policies that is creating all of this heartburn for Maria and Jose and whatever. And so I said, run for office. I had no idea what that was like. But then they said, look, why don't you volunteer? My friend is running for city commissioner, little tiny city. And I was a volunteer with my family members. And I decided, wow, this is fun. I mean, never mind all the great issues you get to deal with. It's fun to do all these. Back then, you had to, roll up newspapers. So you throw them in people's front yards, and you really did do mailings and the old-fashioned way. And it was a lot of fun. And so then I said, okay. And I love the issues that we were talking about. And somebody said, hey, there's a campaign school. And I knew I was a Republican, but there's a campaign school where how to get elected. And then my dad came with me. It was in Orlando. It was a weekend. So I did the candidate school, and my dad did how to be a campaign manager, because we knew nothing except for those little, 3 weeks that I volunteered and thought it was a lot of fun. And so that's how I became involved in politics. Really, as a 21-year-old, already so much about politics, but that wasn't my world. I was just involved in college and working in my parents' business, and being a teacher. I just didn't run around in those circles. And then I found out, with all the issues that I could talk about, oh, I was in heaven. So it was love. politics and me, we fell in love, and I never even knew that I had such a passion and such a calling. And speaking of love, that's where I met my husband. We've now been married a gazillion years, but he was a state rep, and I got elected as a state rep. He was a Democrat. I was a Republican. I had him switch over. No, he wanted to switch. So that's how I got involved in politics, through just in a crazy way. I never thought that I would, but I love it, and I got to work on incredible issues: freedom, democracy, human rights, the rule of law, and those are the issues I've been involved with my whole life.
Wow, I think that's such an incredible story to showcase how, you don't have to have been involved in politics from the jump or not wanted to, be a part of it, and
Yeah. Now,
you
most people, as you know, they have grown up in a political world, and
right.
so they know it very well. Tell me about you. Were you involved in politics? Because you are now with Running
Oh,
Start. You are.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think I've always just been interested. I think since my parents had actually immigrated from Eritrea, and
Oh, from
um,
Eritrea. Oh, wow.
yes, yeah. So they're kind of in a similar
Are you
boat.
first generation American?
I am, yes.
Wow. And
Yeah.
what
So
language do they speak in Eritrea?
Tigrinya.
Whoa, that's not going to be too useful to you, huh?
No, it's definitely not popular.
But you speak it?
Yeah, yeah, at home,
Oh,
and
your
it's
parents must be so proud that you speak that language. Oh, good for you.
definitely,
Always
yeah.
be proud of your roots. Good for you.
Exactly, exactly. But like it's people like you that kind of inspire me to be able to like hold the balance of having the culture that you're able to keep from your
That's
family,
very
you
important.
know?
Keep your culture, your religion, your background, everything, everything. Be proud of where you come from. No matter where you come from, it doesn't matter. Even if you're, from a little town in the middle America, wherever you're from,
Exactly.
those are your roots, and be proud.
Right, yeah, which actually so that leads me to my next question, which is so once you ran, now you're in office, what were some expectations you had going into office? And then what kind of were some like unexpected realities once you actually were?
Great question. I would say that once I got to Congress, it was very challenging
Mhm.
because we had two small children, and my mom was able to come up with us to Washington, to when we had votes, and it wasn't as intense as it is right now. Well, with
Mhm.
COVID, it's changed a lot, but pre-COVID. Um, Being in Congress is just almost 24/7, but back then it was a little bit softer. Was the work schedule was not as crazy, so I could balance being a mom, being a wife, being a member of Congress, and I think the hardest thing, um, that I didn't expect, is how difficult that balance had to be.
Mm.
And that happens to women no matter what you're doing. If you're a student, or if you're a bank teller, if you're working at a grocery store, we're always trying to find that work-life balance. And when you have a family, it becomes that much more important. So having a stable home life, and being a good member of Congress, sometimes they don't go together, because it is a time consuming, wonderful profession. And I loved every minute of it. But it is just hard to find that balance. So I think that's every woman's um, dilemma, and every man as well, because men are worried about that work life balance. And with COVID, it just seems like we're working all the time. So I
Right.
don't mind it. My kids are grown now. We've got 7 grandkids, and
Wow.
life
Oh,
is good.
that's incredible. Well, that's so interesting. So then what how would you say your experiences as like you said, the first Latina elected to Congress, and how did that maybe change throughout your time in office, considering it was a big chunk of time?
Good question. I was the first, but I always said I'm the first. I'm not going to be the last. And sure enough,
Definitely.
we have so many Hispanic women now elected to Congress. I'm very happy about the diversity that we see in Congress, blacks and single women and divorced with 3 children, and every combination that you can think of, we have it in Congress, and I'm very happy with that. I'm also happy that we have incredible congressional leaders like Elise Stefanik. She's a Republican congresswoman from upstate New York, and she was really upset with our Republican Party that we didn't have enough women. We still don't, but we made a big jump. When I was elected in 1989, I was the 13th woman. 30 years later, when I retired from Congress, 13 Republican women. No progress whatsoever. And Elise Stefanik said enough is enough, and she formed a PAC, and she got active in having groups support Republican women, and now we have 27. So it's been remarkable. Leaders make a difference, and she decided she was going to make a difference, and maybe when you take over in Congress, you're going to change that number, and you're going to be the first Eritrean American, and then there'll be 5 or 6. You never know.
Yeah, definitely. I really love that idea of having like exceptional leadership, be able to change
Yes.
the amount of diversity.
So I was very happy with the number of Republican women. Can we do better? Of course. The Democrats have shown us how good they are with getting more women elected, but Republicans, we finally got a taste of this, and I think that we're going to be electing a lot more women in the years to come. So I'm hoping for parity.
Yeah, definitely. So that actually kind of leads me to obviously, I think a big discussion that's been happening of like over polarization in politics today, right? But then what Running Start is doing in it being a bipartisan place is allowing us to build these coalitions even before we run for office as young women, which I think is incredibly important. So then for you, can you talk about your experience, Ileana, of how you've been able to build bipartisan coalitions in order to pass legislation? And have you found that to change over time?
Excellent. Really, really good questions. And I'm so glad that you talk about Running Start, because I
Mhm.
want to give a big shout out to all of the women and men who've made Running Start this incredible success, especially its founder and still its mother hen who is Susanna. She makes sure that Running Start just gets bigger and better. But it gives young women the opportunity to say, hey, I look like a politician. I'm going to be a politician, and let's let them intern in a congressional office and let them know about what it's like to run for office. And you run to be a leader in Running Start yourself, so you know how to campaign. So I think Running Start is a tremendous organization, truly bipartisan, and I don't even know the political parties of the people who are on the board or who run it. I really don't, because it's not about a political party. It's about empowering young women and stimulating their interest to run for office. So it's just a great organization. And these are times when we need organizations that are bipartisan, nonpartisan in nature, like Running Start, because the atmosphere is so different during my last year in Congress than it was when I first got there. Because the margin of control is only in a handful of districts, then every vote is a gotcha vote. And every moment is a gotcha moment. And that's not the way to legislate. I'm a very bipartisan person, and I've always worked well with Democrats. It doesn't matter to me the political party of the person, and I try hard to always look at an issue from both ways. But I have my principles and where I stand, so I'm a conservative. But in many other things, I'm more of a moderate, and the issues that you work on should not have party labels, because the issues that I care about: democracy, freedom, free press, rule of law, separation of powers. Those are founding principles of our country, and they're still guiding our country. But the environment right now in Washington is too divided, is too toxic, and I would hope that people start being considerate of one another. The golden rule, everything that you learned in kindergarten, they could really use that course in Congress now. Treat people with respect. Uh, Treat people the way that you would like to be treated. And anybody can have a good idea. Even, for me, even the most liberal member or the most conservative member, good ideas come from a lot of people. And you'd be surprised if you take the time to shut your mouth and listen more, that so many people have great ideas. So I am optimistic that the mood will change, but I've got to tell you that I'm not happy with the dysfunctional nature of a hyper partisan Congress right now. People are too nasty to one another, and people need to chill out.
Yeah, chill out is actually such a
Chill
great way
out.
to put it.
This is the Sunshine State, Jimmy Buffett style. So we all need a little Jimmy Buffett in our souls right now.
Definitely. I totally agree. And thank you for providing that perspective. I think to show that shift in how important and impactful bipartisanship even works, like it's clear within our organization, but specifically in Congress.
Yes, you guys live it, Yolian. You guys live it and you breathe it. And we need to have Running Start run the Congress. It would be a much better place. It would function better and people would be happier.
Totally agree. Thank you for that. And so for you specifically, how did mentorship impact you throughout your career? And what do you think is an important characteristic of a mentor?
I think it is so important. Thank you, Yolian. What a great question. Mentors are very important. Running Start is a great mentoring program, and you can be mentored by a wise old owl or a young person, because we have something that we can learn from every person who is in front of you. You can learn from that person, good and bad. And for me, I didn't have many women who were my mentors in politics, because when I first got elected, it was in 1982 when I got elected to the state house, and really that's slim pickings for women at those years. And I served 4 years in the Florida House, 3 years in the Florida Senate, and then almost 30 years in Congress. So by the time I left Congress, it was a little bit better, but as I told you, the numbers were still flatlined. So women need to do a better job of mentoring other women and encouraging them to run for office. You don't need to be a politician. Like Running Start says, I look like a politician. This is what a politician looks like. We look like anybody and everybody. So mentorship is important. And I like to be involved in mentoring young women and young men as well. Because you mentor anybody. It doesn't have anything to do with gender, but you can learn a lot. And I pay attention to interns at the firm that I'm with. In a COVID world, not right now, but we do a lot of virtual programs. And I think mentoring is an important part of what we should do as adults. And it doesn't have to be a young person that you mentor. You can mentor somebody your own age, and somebody who doesn't know, they don't have the skill set to do A, B, or C. And you could help that person. And I found that it's sort of an outgrowth of being a teacher. It just comes naturally to me, because teachers are in the business of helping. And that's what mentoring is all about.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that. And for you specifically, would you say, like, could you identify like a mentor for you that has like helped you either early on in your political career or even now? And how has that
Well,
impacted you?
I would say that for me, my mother was a wonderful role model. I think about my parents and you with having an immigrant experience, how different that is from many of your friends, I'm sure. And I think of my mom, who left everything in Cuba, came over here. She's in her early 30s, and to start all over and not knowing a word of English. I didn't know any English. My parents didn't know any. Why would we know English? We're living in Cuba, never thinking that we would ever need another language. And she was never bitter. and they were never frustrated. They loved this country. My parents have passed away a long time ago, but they were wonderful role models for me because my father worked a full-time job and another part-time job and went to school. Even though he was a college graduate from Havana, from the University of Havana, he went here to Miami-Dade College and graduated from the University of Miami with his broken English, but he could read and write it. And here he is working 2 jobs and going to school at night. What wonderful role models. And they were great mentors to me. And I hope that I'm that kind of mentor, and I hope that I am that kind of role model to my kids and now to my grandkids, and that they see me as a person who is positive, who wants to contribute, who is very busy but always has time for family. So I enjoy my life, and I hope that it shows. You can be a mentor to anyone, and anyone can be a mentor to you. But my parents, for me, were my role models, and I hope that I am that for my grandkids.
Definitely. I think that's incredible. And I definitely can agree with that sentiment. Like, I think my parents are definitely everything to me and have proven so much.
Right? We are
Yeah.
so lucky, Yolian,
Mhm.
because we have what many young people do not have. Um, Wonderful parents. There are a lot of difficult circumstances when there's child abuse and there's drug abuse in the family, and many kids are growing up basically by themselves. They've achieved remarkable things, but they're doing it by their bootstraps. I mean, I grew up poor. I'm sure you did too, but everybody I knew was poor, so there was nothing to worry about. But so many broken homes, and I don't mean divorce because e- everybody's divorced. I meant when you have a broken home where you don't have love and support,
Mhm.
and when you have substance abuse and just a difficult situation. And I've seen it. I saw it all the time as a member of Congress when I would go knocking on doors, and I'm just always amazed at how people, how children are so resilient and can grow up in the most difficult situations. And that's why organizations like Running Start exist, so that no matter what your background is, they're going to teach you the skills that you need to run for office or to run a corporation, whatever it is you want to do. We need more institutions like Running Start. There are a lot of
Yeah.
broken hearts all over our country, all over the world. But we're lucky,
Mhm.
Yolian, you and I, we're lucky, we're fortunate, we had great parents. Not every kid has that.
Definitely. But I think what you kind of did in that anecdote, Ileana, is kind of proved even a lot of the, I think, parental characteristics that you still hold on to in like as a politician. I think that's beautiful to be able to make those connections
Yeah.
and not, because I think a lot of times when we originally think of politicians, we think of like cold and just like
Oh,
very
yeah.
detached from society, but you're the complete
There are a
opposite.
lot. There are a lot of those around, unfortunately. A lot of duds,
Yeah.
but
But you're
but
definitely
they're
not
getting
that.
better. They're getting better for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, thank you for kind of bringing in the humanistic
Yeah.
element to politics for sure. And so, kind of like my
And
last
I
question
think that people would, I tell you, more people, if we could get more young people involved in politics, they would find more than anything. First of all, like I said, it was fun. And I think we need
Mm,
to put the fun back in there. And I don't mean, going out on the town and getting drunk or anything like that. That's not fun to me anyway. But I mean fun to interact with other people,
yeah.
to learn from other people, other languages, other customs. Being in politics is a really great job because
Mm,
you get to help people and you have fun doing it. So I always tell people politics is fun because they forget about that. There are a lot of grumpy
mm,
people are in politics. Forget those.
definitely true. See, that's kind of the true heart of a public servant, right there, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, I guess last question I have for you is just kind of what advice do you have for any young woman out there that's interested in
Oh,
running, interested in politics in general? Any advice?
my advice is do it. There are going to be 20 reasons that you can give yourself to say that you're not ready, because as women, all the studies have shown that self-worth and self-esteem is a problem for women. We think that we're not ready, we're not smart enough, we're not prepared. And that happened to me, and I know better. When I got the opportunity, there was an opening for Congress because a wonderful leader, Claude Pepper, had passed away, and he held the seat for a century, I think. And I said, oh no, but I'm not. I don't know enough yet about international issues. And I'm listening to myself thinking, I'm now repeating those same mistakes that I warned people not to say. Women always think we're not ready. Men are always ready to take on whatever task is ahead of them. So just do it. There are going to be many obstacles in your way. You're going to think you're not smart enough. You don't know enough about the issues. You don't have the money. You don't know enough people with money who could help your campaign. But, people have come from nothing and have gotten elected. And what you have to do is connect with the voter. And once you make that connection, it doesn't matter how much your opponent is going to have or how fancy his ads are. You've made that connection with that voter. And I think women have a natural connection to people. We're more empathetic. We relate more. We understand people's problems more, if you can make generalizations, more than males do. So women really should be well represented in Congress with bigger numbers, because we've got what it takes to be a member of Congress. You have, Yolian, let me tell you, you are ready. You're ready right now. You're ready to run, and you're ready to win. And you have the skills, and all you need, you do need a little bit of a campaign school, because you need to know the nuts and bolts about what papers to file and how you run for office. Once you know that, geez, your ideas can get you far. So my advice to any young lady who's thinking about running for office is to do it, and get your family support. That is really key. For me, because I had a husband, because I had young children and elderly parents, it was important for me to have the support of my family. But for some women, you don't even need that. If you think you can do it, maybe your parents don't like you in politics, but you do it anyway, and then they'll be proud of you. They'll say, "Oh, my daughter, the politician."
Right. That's great advice. I think that just do it, I think, is so important.
Just do it.
Oh, really good. Yeah.
Don't wait for that perfect moment.
Mm.
It's like waiting to have a baby. When is the perfect moment? It's never you're always working too hard, or you don't have enough money. It's never a good time to have a baby, but it always is.
Definitely. Wow. Well, thank you so much,
Yolian,
Ileana.
thank you. God bless you. Thank you for being a wonderful role model for your generation. And boy, the world is your oyster. I can't wait to hear about you in the coming years. So you've got my email. Let me know what you're going to end up doing. I want to hear from you.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it. I think you're definitely such an incredible person to look after in terms of what a true public servant will look like.
Thank you, Yolian. Thank you. It was an honor to have been in this interview with you. Thank you very much. And I wish you nothing but bluebirds.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Gracias. How do you say gracias in that language you speak?
Oh, dejando.
How do you say thank you?
Dejando.
Dejando. Okay, dejando.
Mm-hmm.
Dejando.